This is Ashley Newby, and you're listening to the Black Studies Podcast, a Mellon Grant sponsored series of conversations examining the history of the field. Our conversations engage with a wide range of activists and scholars, senior figures in the field, late doctoral students, cultural workers, political organizers, and everyone in between in order to explore the cultural and political meaning of Black studies as an area of inquiry and its critical methods. On today's episode of the Black Studies Podcast, we have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Sheena C. Howard, award-winning author, filmmaker, and scholar. In 2014, Dr. Howard became the first Black woman to win an Eisner Award for her first book, Black Comics: Politics of Race and Representation. The Eisner Awards are considered the Oscars of comics. She's also the author of several critically acclaimed books and comic books. In 2017, she published the Encyclopedia of Black Comics, which is the first book of its kind, profiling over 100 Black people in the comics industry. The Encyclopedia of Black Comics was named the 2018 American Library Association's Outstanding Reference Source. In 2014, Dr. Howard published Black Queer Identity, Matrix, and Critical Articulations of Race, Gender, and Sexual Orientation. She is the co-writer of the comic book Superb, about a teenage superhero with Down syndrome. She has appeared on NPR, ABC, BBC, PBS, as well as other networks and documentaries as an expert on popular culture, politics, and social justice. Dr. Howard is the subject of a 2018 Emmy-nominated episode of State of the Arts, which airs on NJTV and WHYY. In 2016, she directed, produced, and wrote the documentary Remixing Colorblind, which explores the ways the educational system shapes our perceptions of race. Parts of the documentary were filmed at West Catholic High School in Philadelphia, Lehigh University, and Drexel University. The film premiered at the Ritz Landmark Theater in Philadelphia. She organized and hosted a talk about race and education at the Philadelphia Main Library in 2017 as part of a documentary tour, in which proceeds from the event went to local nonprofit organizations. Dr. Howard has twice received a proclamation from the city of Philadelphia for her literary work, social justice, and creative projects. She was born and raised in Southwest Philadelphia. She now has one child, is a professor at Rider University in the Department of Communication and Journalism. Outside of her full-time job, Dr. Howard spends time writing and speaking to organizations and educational institutions on a variety of topics, including social justice, diversity, and representation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Black Studies Podcast. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Sheena Howard, award-winning author, filmmaker, and scholar. Hi, Dr. Howard. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I don't want to take up too much of your holiday, so we're going to dive in. So how did you get into Black Studies?
So I basically, when I went to Howard University for my PhD, and the reason why I went to Howard University, one of the reasons was I did want to learn more about my people, right? And I was in the Department of Communication, the School of C, and I did my PhD studies on intercultural and rhetorical communication. And so while I'm not in a Black Studies department, even now I'm in the Department of Communication, Journalism, and Media. Obviously, my work is grounded in, African American studies and that kind of thing.
So you mentioned your PhD. So can we talk a little bit about your Boondocks dissertation and how that came about?
Yeah, so I think I was really young when I started my PhD. And because of that, sometimes ignorance can be bliss because you're not in a box yet, right? So at 23, started my PhD. And what I didn't know is they want you to know what you're going to do your dissertation on first semester. Everybody's like, what is your dissertation on? And apparently all of these 30 and 40-year-olds knew. And I was like, oh, wait, what? So I realized, I'm like, if I'm going to have to write this book, it's going to have to be on something that I actually enjoy because I'm not going to be able to get through this if it's not something fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of just being young and not really knowing, the parameters, right? And so I just happened to be reading the Boondocks during that time, and I really liked it. I just really liked it, and I was like, "Oh, this is a comic strip about Black people. I'm studying rhetorical and intercultural communication, and this comic strip is clearly rhetorical and intercultural communication." I was like, "Thank you, Jesus. I found something to study." And then I just went from there, but I didn't realize, like, no, that was in 2007. Like, that was not studying comics was not it was not like a thing, it was not a mainstream thing in academe back then. It was like, what? So yeah, yeah.
So that, I guess I'll ask the question and then you can tell me. But so going from doing the Boondocks, right, and making that your PhD studies to all of the work that you've done around Black comics now, what was that like? Because as you said, like, being young and not understanding that, like, there are expectations and parameters around things that people don't necessarily vocalize.
Mhm.
Um, how did that kind of the choice to study the Boondocks, how did that shape where you went with your research moving forward?
Yeah, so I mean, it shaped a lot. Like, I can't even imagine an alternative universe where I didn't go to Howard and didn't study that, because so many great things happened. Um, by sticking to my guns and, like, focusing on the Boondocks. I will say that one of the things that I realized when I was, you do your literature review for your dissertation, and I could not find a book that was just one book that talked about the contributions of Black people in comics. So I'm at Howard, I have to do this literature review and situate the Boondocks in other Black comics work. So I'm in the basement at Howard University at the library just looking for a book. Like, I literally thought it was just going to be a book like the history of Black people in comics, something like that. Nothing. There was no book. There was no book that was like, "Hey, here's the chronological order of Black people in comics and their contributions." I remember a book was like the American history of comics, barely mentioned Black people. So that pissed me off, because now I got to do this literature review and I got to create that history. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to do, like, the dissertation is already enough work. So I had to construct this history and situate the Boondocks in other Black comics. And what happened was, when I finished that dissertation, that was when I knew, like, yo, I was just like, this is like this is terrible. I need to write this book and document this history of Black people's contributions to comics. So that's when I took chapters from my dissertation and did the edited book, Black Comics, Politics of Race and Representation. And that book actually, I won an Eisner Award
Mhm.
for that at San Diego Comic-Con. And if you're not in the comics world, you might not know what that is, but it's the highest award you can win in comics. It's equivalent to an Oscar in our comic world. So that's what happened. Yeah.
So this is I'm sorry, these are I'm just very curious. These are so were you, like, super into comics beforehand, or did, like, the Boondocks kinda, like and then the research start that?
No, I was not in the comics. I did not read comics as a kid. This was straight survival mode. Straight, I gotta do this dissertation. I like this particular comic strip. Imma do it on that because 'cause I'm 23 and I like this, and clearly it fits into what my department was about in some ways. Nobody was
Mhm.
studying comics really, but it fit in, and it was really like survival mode. But that part about there were nothing was documenting the history of Black people's contributions in this field. That was the thing that when I was done, I was like, "Yo, that's gonna be my first book. Imma do this. I don't know how to write a book. I don't know how to put a book together. Nobody knows who I am. I don't know how Imma get these other scholars to contribute It was a whole thing. I had no idea what I was doing. And that's another story. I got a co-editor, Ron Jackson, who helped me. But that was it. That was the sticking point right there. No comics background at all before that. And I, I've written for Marvel and DC Comics, but there's comic fans who, like, they've been writing comics and like reading comics. I'm not that person. I'm an academic that study it from a academic perspective, an intellectual perspective. And in my opinion, given the Boondocks the credit it deserves for what it is.
Mhm. Well, thank you. I think that one that's really it's interesting that, like, this interest in this one particular comic strip led
Did
to
all this.
so much, like, this
Right, exactly.
wrote my dissertation on this then, and it opened
Yeah.
up so many different avenues, and it also, like, allowed for that scholarship to be produced.
Yep.
That's wild that there hadn't been a book like that before.
Right. Exactly. In like 2014, I'm the first Black woman to win this award. And that's part of the story too, because I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Like comics weren't marketed to us really as Black girls.
Yeah.
So it all makes sense. Like it was lack of inclusivity, lack of even trying to create mainstream comics. Let's talk about mainstream comics for us in our experience. So it's not surprising that I didn't grow up reading comics, right? So that's like part of the story too. Now, as soon as you get some inclusivity in there and some different perspectives, now it's like all of these great avenues you can explore to grow the field.
Mhm.
Instead of like trying to keep people out, the more people you get to intersect with this medium, the more it grows.
Yeah, I think that that's a really important point. I think that that point that's something that stood out to me when I was looking at, how you've written about Wakanda, and its potential to, like, allow our imaginations to be expanded, right? To see yourself or to imagine yourself in spaces that don't necessarily exist and that can grow your possibilities. Um, so do you wanna say a little bit about how you ended up focusing on Wakanda? I mean, it was a
Mhm.
cultural moment, but
Yeah.
what drew you to wanna write
Yeah.
about that as well?
So, when the movie came out, as we all know, it was a big thing. I'm like fascinated by this. I'm like, celebrities are buying out movie theaters. Like people are dressing in their Afrocentric stuff. Like it was crazy. I was like so fascinated by the psychology behind it. Because it's not just we're excited about Black Panther. I'm like, it has to be something else happening under the surface. Like, what the heck is going on here? So the original name of the book was The Psychology of Black Panther, actually. That's what I pitched to the publisher, The Psychology of Black Panther. That turned into Why Wakanda Matters. And it turned into actually a book about what the film Black Panther can teach the Black community about mental health. So the reason why I really like the book Why Wakanda Matters um, is because it's taking something that we all know and saying, hey, like these things that we're seeing about these different character journeys can teach us a lot about mental health frameworks for our own self. Right? So that's a really cool lens that the book ended up becoming.
So I wanna, not necessarily switch gears, but I'm interested in how given, like, so you have your PhD in communications. Obviously, the work that you do is rooted in Black studies. You went to Howard so that you could study Black people and be in that environment. How do you situate yourself in relationship to multiple disciplines and even, like, public-facing work? Because you have done a lot of public-facing work as well.
Yeah, like I write about whatever I want. See, I can't be in a box. I can't do these labels, I guess it, I can't be limited in the way that I think and my creativity. For me, writing my dissertation and my scholarship is a creative process, less than an academic one. To me, like I, writing any research paper is creativity to me. Like you gotta figure out what the theory gonna be and the method and how it all fit in. Then you gotta figure out like if you're gonna do interviews or focus groups, like that, all of that to me is creativity. It's not academic. It is academic in the formula sense and how you got to use big words.
Mhm.
Um, but like it's creativity to me, and so whatever. I want to see in the world is what I put out into the world. And it doesn't even matter if it's something that's similar to something else, because if you create it, it's going to be unique. Like, so if I want to see it, I'm gonna create it. And so whatever discipline it ends up falling into that people want to put it into, that's great. Right? It just sparks new knowledge.
How does that this is as you said, right, like, thinking about the methods, that's something that has come up quite a bit on the podcast is different methods, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think about the relationship between, like, methodologies and how you choose your methodologies in the work that you do?
Yeah, I love methods. I love methodology. It's more so of, like, what I'm looking for. I do qualitative stuff, so it's gonna be, like, textual analysis, it's gonna be, like, thematic analysis, it's gonna be that kinda stuff. It's gonna be, like, a lot of talking to people in focus groups and um, figuring out what the themes are. That was one of the things with the Boondocks dissertation. I'm like, "Okay, now I gotta make this, like, a academic paper that looks like it actually has some methods going on," which it does. I think I did a very cool job of like doing this textual analysis and having everything coded, because it's coded, y'all. There's codes, there's tables, there's numbers, there's all that stuff. Again, to me that was fun because it was a creative process, right? Because like I've created theories, like just it's all creativity to me.
That's a very interesting, way to look at it. I don't think that, most of us come to the work as a creative process.
Nope.
Is that rooted in something in particular? The looking at everything as a creative process?
Um, it's probably just the way my brain works. Uh, I just stayed in school because that was one thing I was good at. So when I finished my master's degree, I'm like, I have all these degrees, but I am definitely not ready to have no job because, like, I got these degrees, but I don't have no experience at all. So, like, one of the reasons why I stayed in school because I'm like, I'm good at that. I'm good at that. So let me go to Howard and get this, Black cultural experience and do that and just be good at that. And maybe that'll buy me some time to like figure out what I wanted to do. And it worked out because it did help me figure out what I want to be doing. But really, um, I should have just been a writer from the beginning. But I did not really know people that were like making a living as a writer. That was like I don't I'm from Southwest Philly. There's nobody in my family or in my neighborhood like talking about I'm a writer for a living. That's crazy to me. So really, I stayed in school trying to figure it out. What I really wanted to be was just a writer. So maybe it just comes from some of that. Because writing first is a creative process to me, not an academic one, right?
Mhm.
You don't need to go to college to write. So maybe it comes from that. But yeah.
Okay. Thank you. It's always interesting to hear, um, how people who are more creative and who are artists think about the academic work, and the ways in which they bring that creative aspect to the things that we are required to do, but also the ways in which,
There's a
uh
lot of requirements.
lot of requirements, that how those, are able to sustain them in different ways because
Mhm.
too often those requirements are not fulfilling
Right.
requirements, like, outside of the paycheck.
Exactly.
Eek.
Exactly. Exactly. So true. Like after I got tenure, there was just like a big void. Like, what am I doing? It was so anticlimactic. Like, it's like now I really feel the void because it's like, what? Like, I got the job and like stable, great. But then it was like, oh no, I actually wanted to be a writer. Let me get back to doing that creative writing thing that I actually was put on this earth to do.
I think that's probably very common,
Right. Right.
and that's something that has come up a few times with so there are all these, like, historical memoirs that are being written right now. Um, and there have been a couple Black women scholars who have released some recently, like Martha Jones and Carter Jackson, like their most recent books incorporate like their family's histories alongside like these larger ideas. And like both of them were like, yeah, so I did what I had to do and now I do
Yeah,
what I want to do. Like
exactly.
now I can write the
Exactly.
thing that I really wanted to write
Yep.
before. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that that's both a moment for that, which is really interesting, but also very telling about the field
Mhm.
that we find ourselves in.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I don't think it's necessarily wrong with that. Every institution, you're not gonna change somebody's house and the way they do things. So it's like you do it, you get the security, and I did it as quick as humanly possible. I'm talking about 23, start the PhD, 26 finish, went up for tenure early, went up for full professor like 3 years later, got all of that out the way before 40. Like, I was like 35, I think, when I was like full professor. Crazy. And like, so, and just get back to what I really want to do.
That's full before full at 35 is crazy.
Whew.
But, that's insane. Um, yeah. But, I mean, that's you got it out the way, so now you can do what you really
Exactly.
wanna do, which,
Exactly.
especially in these days, is important.
Yeah.
So, I want to build on all of that and ask, how is your work as a teacher or an instructor, how is that informed by Black studies and the work that you do, in your scholarship and public facing work?
Um, I think all of my like publications are probably informed in some way by Black studies. Like I'm trying to think of some, except for like my like creative entrepreneurship type self-published books. It all is about I just want to preserve Black culture, particularly in comics, because that's an area of need. Like when the aliens come down and we're no longer here, I want them to know that like all these amazing Black people did all these amazing things in comics and we existed and we were out here crushing it. It has to be in books. It has to be documented, right? It can't just be lost, right? So it has to be packaged in one place. So that's where I'm coming from. With the work that I do. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. And in a time when they're trying to rid the libraries and the world of that documentation, it is increasingly important.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. And I know like I'm in communication, so we borrow a lot from everything.
Hmm.
We borrow a lot from psychology, Black. So, it's a blend, it's a mix, grounded in like how we communicate, interpersonal stuff, intercultural stuff. So communication, I guess in some ways too, allows me the freedom to be able to go in all of these different avenues. And the other thing is, like, when I got my tenure track position at Rider University, it's like it's a liberal arts university that most people outside of Jersey haven't heard of. And so that gave me some freedoms to just be me and study what I wanted. Because like these Ivy Leagues, you gotta do this one thing. This is your thing. I'm not built that way. I'm not I mean I could have done it, but I'm not. So like even just the places that I chose to work
Hmm.
helped me live out my dreams even within the institution that obviously I had to play the game and do all the stuff. But still, like even on my tenure track and like my dossier and stuff, it's a lot of different things. I got a film in there about race and education. I got, work on the LGBTQ community. I got comment. It's a whole blend of publications that are not just one thing. It's just what Dr. Sheena Howard wanted to do, and I could do that because I'm at like a teaching university that has a 3-3 load, so it's not like 4-4. So I had time to do stuff.
That yeah, having the time to do things particularly things that you were interested in and not having such strict boundaries around what it is you are permitted to count
Exactly.
towards that dossier. 'Cause you can do a lot of things, but doesn't
Exactly. But
mean you
like,
count.
do you want tenure or no? So yeah, and I just wasn't really in that predicament in the university that I'm at, um, supported me, right? Because they saw like, "Oh, like, you're bringing visibility to the university," like, right?
Mhm.
So it was a perfect place for me. I think too, just if there are any, like, young people out there that are doing their PhD now. I went to Howard, so there were people that are, like, Ivy League and look down on my decisions. I like, okay, like, you want that, and that's okay, and just let me live my life.
Yeah. I think yeah. Yeah. Is the grad a PhD program is just such an interesting space. Um, it's an interesting mix of people who are at varying levels of
Mhm.
life experience
Mhm.
and expectation. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a wild situation to be in. Most
Mhm. Just not for the weak.
no, it's not. And sometimes it ain't even for the strong because
Yeah. Yeah.
my sister is working on her PhD now, and I keep trying to tell her, like, "Girl, nah, it's not you. It's the
Yeah,
situation, the
no.
context itself
Yeah.
is what's wild." Like,
Yeah,
all of
for
your
sure.
feelings are valid, all of your experiences, like, this is just what it is.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
yeah, and the pressure and the expectation in that space can be a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. For sure, for sure. Mm.
Shoot, you've got your you've made it. You have made
I
it.
did. I did. I could say I made it through that part of the journey. I am, like, proud of what I accomplished. I'm proud that I stuck with it. I think that the majority of people do a dissertation and 10 years later, they not talking about that dissertation. But I'm like 15 years out and I'm talking about my work. Right? I'm trying to, and I've always been like this. I'm like, I don't want to write these research papers just for other academics. That's whack to me. No offense to anybody else, like, people got their different ways of what
Mhm.
they want to do, but for me, I'm like, if I can't come back to my block in Philadelphia and explain to my 70-year-old neighbor what I went to school for, then I'm not doing something right. Like, for me, because, like, why wouldn't I wanna make my work accessible to the people who could benefit from it? That's how I've thought from the very beginning about my PhD, from the very beginning.
I think that's super important, especially given that your work is on comics. Like, that is a genre that is read more so or engaged with on a much broader scale by people not in the academy than
Yeah,
people in it. And
yeah,
thinking about the utility and the messages and what we can take from comics is much more helpful to think about that from the perspective of everyone than it is, the 10 or 15 people that may or may not come across a dissertation.
and have access to it.
Yeah, that
Like, what did I write this whole thing for? I wrote this whole thing just for, like, a few academics with access to ProQuest?
yep,
What? Like, to me, that is no. Oh, man.
yeah. Wrote this whole thing for a few academics with access to ProQuest and do not get paid for it in any way, shape, or form.
No. But you know what's crazy? I got a check from ProQuest, like, last year because people were buying my dissertation. I
Oh,
didn't even know.
wow.
They mailed me a check because I know. That's how impactful my dissertation is, y'all. I got this check in the mail from ProQuest for people buying my dissertation from ProQuest. And
That's
I was like, "This is
wow.
it was like $7.99. It was like a little check, but it was like, "What?" I didn't even know first of all, I didn't even know they had my mailing address. And yeah, that was so cool.
That's very cool. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Me either. And I'm talking about last year. I want people to understand, like, I wrote that dissertation in 2010.
Well, I think it's very timely, right? Like, we've had 2 Black Panthers at this point, there's a 3rd one
Right,
coming, and we've got Ironheart coming,
right.
and, like, there were a couple other shows that kind of, integrated some of that, like, I think it's a very timely yeah, it's very timely to be able to look back at that and see
Yeah.
have that history and that context to view the things that are continuing to happen now.
Yep.
So, the
Yeah.
timing is it makes sense, but it's also like, wow,
It's crazy. I
because that
know.
also means, like, that's somebody who didn't at all have institutional access, like, they didn't have a friend, they didn't have,
Yeah.
like, a
No.
cousin that could just go download it for them, like, they
Right.
it, um,
Right.
which
Which is it's a lot of people. It's a lot of Black people that don't have
yeah,
access to these databases. From
yeah.
like, we take it for granted because 'cause we're professors, but, like, most people are not, most people cannot access the research, y'all, and they not about to pay ProQuest $41 to read your stuff. So you better get out here and talk about it. This is one of the reasons why I created, Power Your Research, which is a program that helps academics, build their brands and monetize the 6 figures, um, for that very reason. Like, we need the voices of these smart professors out here now more than ever talking about your actual research and work that you did that is valid and reliable. Like, we need y'all out here.
There is yeah, there needs to be a counter to the opinions that don't make any sense, and
Right.
the ease with which anyone can share their ideas now,
Mhm.
and the lack of media literacy that allows people to take seriously things that should not be taken seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So, um, building on all of that, right? I know that you have your background primarily in, like, communications, but if we think about, the role that Black studies plays in your work, what interests you most about the past of Black studies as a field?
You know what I really enjoyed about my dissertation was using Afrocentricity to look at how our current Black communication dynamics connect back to ancestral Africa in all of these different ways, and the slave trade, and how we had to use signifying and all these different things, and verbal play to survive and make it, and just understanding where the way we, African American vernacular English, the origins, the roots, how it developed, and getting more of a appreciation for African American vernacular English, because, when you're a professor or in corporate America, you have to speak a certain way. But I really, because my dissertation is actually the continuity and extension of African American communication dynamics, like through Afrocentricity and ancestral Africa. So I really enjoy bridging that gap, and learning more about that connection, and learning more about Black language dynamics.
Yeah, that was Black language is what brought me into Black studies, so I definitely get that, like,
Yeah.
that was super interesting to me, um, and I think it's such a inclusive starting point because, like, we all talk, and the ways in which we talk are talked about in different venues in multiple ways, and to really think about what that means, and not only where the way that we talk comes from, but the ways in which, it is portrayed and framed in particular ways for particular purposes.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's exactly what I study with the Boondock. Like, to me, that's fascinating because I'm like, this thing clearly uses African American vernacular English sometimes, but it's like crossed over to this big thing that white
Mhm.
people and black people, and y'all, I'm talking about the comic strip, not the show, because the show is a little. I'm talking about the comic strip. I did my dissertation on the comic strip. I'm still catching up on the show because it was a little too homophobic for me, so I, like, tuned out some things, and so now I'm just coming back in to, like, try to appreciate what the show was doing. I
Mhm.
prefer the comic strip too. It's like when you read a book and then they do a movie. People usually always like the book better, right? That's the source material. That's the original. Aaron Magruder was closer to the comic strip than the show in terms of like different hands being in it, right? Um, but that's one of the things I really liked about the Boondocks was, man, like it the African American communication dynamics and how they are so present in it. And when I talk about some of the different panels on social media and I analyze them for people, one thing that's abundantly clear and interesting to me is like white people don't like that black people have private conversations that they're not privy to. It really hurts their feelings. And they'll try to dismiss black literature as, oh, that panel that Magruder did wasn't that special. And it's like, because you don't understand that black people have private conversations that we don't tell y'all about, and we're laughing at two different things. And they get so triggered by the fact that like, no, you just don't get it, or you're laughing at one part of it, but that's not what we're laughing at because we're
Mhm.
different. We have different shared cultural meaning, and it's so fascinating to me and so interesting. And when I think about me being a creator, that's what good art is made of. It's polysemic. People are
Mhm.
interpreting it different ways. That's how you become a legend. It's like someone listens to this song or looks at this piece of art and they having two different conversations about it. I love that. That's so cool to me.
Yeah, it's definitely having and then I think that the space, like, the online space is very interesting in terms of communication and, like, having these conversations in a visible way, and so people think that they understand just because they're reading the text, and it's like, "But you don't."
You don't understand what I understand. And like like that one panel, oh my god, it's my favorite one where okay, Huey and Riley, they're cold on the corner of the bus stop. They're freezing because it's like -5 below. And then the white boy is not, he got on like shorts and flip-flops. And he asks Hugh and Riley, like, are you guys cold? There is so much to that single panel that, oh my God, it is so much to that panel. Even down to like not just cultural stuff, but geography. Cause I noticed, and this is the great thing about putting your work out there for like the masses. I noticed that even that the part that I'm laughing at is a part that people on the East Coast understand better. Regardless of like race. Cause like on the East Coast, a lot of people understand that like we be cold and we see white people with shorts on. We see the boy with the shorts on if you're on East Coast. But if you live somewhere else, you don't you're having a whole different conversation about, oh, I'm black and I wear shorts, or oh, right, like this is a very geographical thing. I didn't realize it until I brought it to the mass and was like, oh, everybody from the East Coast knows what I'm talking about, what I'm laughing at. But there's other things to laugh at in that panel, obviously. Oh my God, it's so fascinating to me.
The regional context combined with the cultural context.
Woo, child.
Yeah, but yeah, 'cause being from Michigan, that is also very relatable content. Like,
Yep.
if it hits 35, 40, flip-flops and shorts come out.
Yep. I'm like, "What?"
It's like,
Yep.
but it's still cold.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so last question. What interests or excites you most about the future of Black studies?
Just more intersection with different fields and disciplines. I think the more you can be inclusive and get people into your discipline from other disciplines, the more it grows, the more you see how new knowledge is generated, not by being exclusive in this context, but being inclusive, right? When communication uses Black studies, when Black studies uses communication, when I blend communication with psychology, same thing with comics. If you get a medical doctor that writes a graphic novel, right? This is how these genres and these disciplines stay alive and grow. I know in academia there's elitism, y'all. I get it. Black studies got their own worldview and but I'm saying the way to grow is blending, y'all. That's what I believe. That's what excites me the most. More people having access to participate and to grow these fields, whether it's Black studies, communication, comics, whatever it is, music, whatever it is.
Okay. That is a wonderful point to end it on, particularly on Juneteenth, thinking about how we can continue to grow Black studies by the inclusion of ideas and methods and thoughts from other places, I think is a great spot. Would you like to add anything else?
No, for your audience, I would like them to know, check out Power Your Research if you're interested in like understanding how to take your research and talk to the masses about it on a 7th grade level. Something that's going to pop, something that's going to get more regular people interacting with your work. Check out my program, and that's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Juneteenth.
You too.